Hello, everybody. I want to talk about something I think should really be contemplated when dealing with parental estrangement. And I talked about this previously years ago. If someone didn't come around very often, you'd say, oh, Uncle so-and-so doesn't show up or doesn't come to parties very often. And that's just the way it was. And they just were off doing their thing and would show up and you'd be excited to see them. And that would be that. But when it comes to parental estrangement today, and I don't know why this happens, but adult sons and daughters disconnect from a mom or a dad, and then they go on to disconnect from other people who love the estranged parent, who support the estranged parent, who say to the son or daughter, why are you doing this, or what's going on, or like my grandma used to say, you know, you only have one family. And so they disconnect from everyone. And as much as we say we want to forgive our children and we just would love to have them come back, or Mother's Day is terrible because if my son or daughter was just around, but when is enough enough? When do we say, we're done. I can no longer tolerate not only the disregard, disrespect, and you tossing me out, and you disconnecting from me, but then taking my grandchildren from me as well, or not even telling them that I exist. But in my situation, I had my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. She lived to 100, and my youngest daughter, well, my oldest as well, had been disconnected from the family for about 10 years by the time my grandma passed. And my youngest showed up, sat adjacent to my grandma's lap, and I had to say, Grandma, this is my daughter so-and-so. And my grandma said, oh, I don't see you very much. And my daughter went on to inform my grandma that she had not just one baby, but 4 children. So it was my grandma's great-great-grandchildren that had never had an opportunity to get to know her. I think she had 3 more, maybe 2 by that time. I'm not quite sure. But she had more children who didn't get to know my grandmother. And my grandma did absolutely nothing to deserve to be disconnected from her bloodline. It's one thing to disconnect from a parent or a sibling or an aunt or an uncle, but to disconnect from someone who was good to you, loved you, took care of you, prayed for you, it's a whole another low, to be honest with you. And there has to come a point in time, as us parents say, this is not okay. And this should be absolutely shameful. But what are you telling your children about their great-great-grandmother and their grandmother? What are you telling them? From what I was told, a friend that I ran into not too long ago was informed by my youngest daughter that I had died. And so what are you telling my grandchildren? Because it's bloodline. If we're talking, I had a daughter who had children, so I have grandchildren. What are you telling them? And how are you going to explain to them when they get older and they find out they have not had an opportunity to meet their grandmother, or you rip them out of their grandma's arms? What are you going to tell them? It's one thing to disconnect from one person, but to erase the family tree where one side is plentiful and has a lot of little leaves and grandma, grandpa, and the other side is just void. What are you going to tell them? I think enough is enough. It's bad enough you disconnected from your parent, ghosted them, broke up with them. But to disconnect from other people who only loved you and wished you well. Oh my goodness, if this doesn't change minds and people's ideas and thoughts and feelings about all of this, if you love your children, let them know their family. Let them know their grandparents and their family tree and their history and the rich history that older generation brings to the family. Please don't just please don't disconnect in that manner. So think twice, 3 times, 10 times before you do it. And if you're an estranged parent and your children have done this, let them go. That's all I've got to say. I'll be back.